Hey guys, so I'm gonna do a tier list, troop tier list. This tier list is gonna be based mostly. It's gonna be an arena centric tier list, so I'm taking into consideration mostly the arena, not other game modes like on hunting, Infinity War, all that crap. I do have a category here for that. So we've got 5 categories. We've got OP, that means overpowered. The troop is strong, ridiculously strong. Um, then we got good, which is just basically the category of, they're good troops. They're troops you're going to want to have and get and accumulate, but not necessarily as strong as the op troops. Then we've got our limited use troops, which are kind of one off sort of troops, which are maybe only useful for one hero specifically and not really has as much use overall in the arena as the other troops. Then we've got the orange, which is troops that are only useful in other game modes and not really useful for the arena at all, just they're useful for other game modes. And then we've got the red, which is stop, don't bother fucking chasing these pieces of shit which aren't really useful anywhere. So we'll start here with this new troop, which is op, dwarf artillerymen. Particularly hard to come by, very, very op. Insanely op, I would say. And that's why they've made them so freaking hard to come by. Paladins, no use whatsoever. Now, Soul Hunters used to be here. They used to be useful in Infinity War. That map has since been removed, so they're basically no use at all now. However, a similar map may come back in the future with, the towers, but currently they are no use at all because they're pretty hopeless in the fucking arena. You'll find most of the common troops have no use at all. Wolf King, pretty much no use at all. Harbingers of Fire have one use outside of the arena. There's against the Spider Queen, and you would need a ridiculous number at level 10 for them to actually do anything. Mummies, similar thing to Harbingers, only useful for one on a hunting thing, which is, I forget what it is, Ice Dragon. So they're only useful against the Ice Dragon, and they have no use whatsoever in any other game mode. Now, I'm going to put these in limited use. They have a very limited use in the game, mostly particularly against Harrison. Other than that, they really have not much use. Obviously, they have use when you're starting out the game, and I'm not really considering people when they're starting out the game, because you're eventually going to replace troops like this with better troops. So in that sense, you wouldn't really want to go beyond level 8 in terms of your upgrades. Hell Jailers, useless. Archers, useless. They're essentially similar to, I'm not considering again, they're better troops than this, so you won't want to ever make these beyond level 8. Similar to this, infantry, hopeless. These are pretty much no use at all. Ghost assassins, no use at all anymore. They've been replaced by a better troop. Bombers, no use at all. Forget what this is called. Inquisitor, no use at all. One of the worst troops in the game. This Monkey King has uses outside of the arena, which is clan hunting and some Infinity War maps. Other than that, he has no use whatsoever in the arena, so he will never come up here. No use at all. This thing, Viking Warrior, one of the worst troops in the game. And this is probably the worst troop in the game, Cactus. Pilgrims have no use whatsoever in the arena. However, they're useful in other game modes, particularly on hunting and Infinity War. The skeleton thing is fucking trash. Useless, no use whatsoever in the game. Again, Scholar, no use whatsoever. Bandit, no use whatsoever. Yep, these are pretty much no use whatsoever. They're better options than Yasha's. This is one of the worst legendaries in the game. No use whatsoever. No use whatsoever for the totem. This thing here, I'm not even really going to consider Infinity War. It's no use whatsoever. Dark Witches have very limited use. You only want one of those. And honestly, I don't really use it too much anymore. Necromancers have use outside of the arena, particularly against Cerberus and Spider Queen, but they're pretty hopeless in the arena. This is a broken troop, doesn't work properly. It has no use whatsoever. Templar Knights, no use whatsoever. There is, maybe one use in the arena for them to distract, but I still wouldn't ever consider them to be useful. Angels are pretty much hopeless now. They used to be quite good. Other troops have pretty much made them useless, so they are no use at all. Ice Mage, very limited use, I would say, in the arena. Very limited, very limited, and you would never really want to get more than one or two of those to a high level. Pumpkin Guards, I'm just going to put them at good because they can be quite useful in the arena. Not en masse, just a few of them, one or two. Catapults have limited use. I guess I'll put that at limited use because that's really where it should be. Catapults have a very limited use in that they're only really good en masse and with Harrison. Despite how hard this is to get, it's pretty limited in terms of its effectiveness. Again, Undead Warriors, they're probably at limited use now. Other troops have superseded them. They're particularly good with Sean, which is why I would consider them to be limited use troops. Likewise, GTs, fairly limited use in the arena. They are good with a few heroes, namely heroes that can keep them alive, like Celine, or slowing down heroes, Shine, Harrison, who will revive them. Other than that, they aren't that particularly good. Shadow Ninjas, I'm going to put them at good. They're still quite useful, I feel. Taurus Witches have very limited use, mostly because there's better troops out there other than them. Methals or Slingshot Barbarians have limited use, mostly limited to certain heroes, namely Freya, and really not that much use in the arena, to be honest, so that's why I would consider them to be limited use. Likewise, Demons, they're good for distraction mostly, but they do have a very limited use. Likewise, this other new troop is limited use, Mech Chasers. So far I've only found they're good for protecting your backline a bit and mostly killing Davison real quick. That's their main use, which makes them quite limited. They're arguably kind of a better version of Undead Warriors. Minions, these are pretty good. You'll find them quite useful, not en masse, but quite useful in the arena. They'll find their way on quite a few of your forms, so you'll definitely want to get at least 2 or 3 of them upgraded. Not more than that, really. Ballistas are good troops for sure, particularly with like the Jins of the world. Stone Golem's a good troop to have. Always useful to have a troop that just takes too long to kill, which is what their main job is. Meteor Golems are good, I would say. You don't really need more than 2, I reckon. You can have more, but 2 to start off with is always useful. Goblikazis are good. Yeah, you're going to want maybe 3 or 4 of those, maybe 3 to start off with at a high level. They're not good en masse, but they, you want a few of those in your forms, or to have in your forms. Magic Apprentices are good, probably one of the best rare troops there are. Useful with all heroes as well, pretty much. Peltists, they're still good, but they've been basically replaced by other troops. They're still very good with other heroes, particularly human heroes. They just don't have as much use as they used to have. Brawlers, I would say, are good troops, very good troops to have. Yeah, they have become kind of op, but I'll still put them at good. Swordsmen, you're going to want a couple of those, they're pretty good. Likewise, Rhino Knights are very good for quite a few things you can do with those. Orkhunters are pretty good still, even though there's a better troop out there. They do something a bit different from that troop, which is what makes them so good. What is this? Heal Spirits, yeah, they're pretty good. 3 or 4 of those, you're going to want to upgrade those. Priest Mage, still a good troop, even though these have arguably make more of an impact than these do. It's their limited range, which these make up for. Nuns, pretty good. Yeah, good arena troops to have, nuns. Frost Archers are op troops. These are the troops you're going to want really en masse, like you're going to want quite a lot of them, because these are the best ranged troops in the game. They're better than Methals, they're better than Taurus Witches, just for their freeze and the RNG that they do. The Bloodthirsty Devil's a good troop to have. I would arguably say it's quite op. It's kind of in between, I would say. Yeah, because you're going to want at least 4, I would say, 4 of those eventually. 2 to start off with and get 4. Because the healing they do is pretty broken and quite insane, really. But yeah, I would say just it's in the middle, really, and I don't really have a middle of these two, so I'll just put it at good. Because you don't really want them en masse as much as, say, these. These, on the other hand, I would put it up. They are insanely useful with pretty much every hero, and 8 to 10 of these you're going to want to have, because they are particularly difficult to kill because of how far they stretch out. Yeah, this is an op troop. Yeah, one of the most op troops in the game. These voodoo dolls, flash angels. These replaced ghost assassins, and they basically do what ghost assassins do, but they do it, 30 times as well. And you're going to want these en masse as well. This is probably another troop, Taunt Man, which is between op and good, I would say. But I think they're pretty op. They really are. They've arguably replaced stone golems in terms of what stone golems used to do. This is straw kids. These are the most op troops in the game. When I say overpowered, these are the most overpowered troop in the game without question. What they can do is next level unfair, to be honest. And pirate ships, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say, yeah, these are pretty op. They're an op troop to have, and yeah, I would say, as you can see, no use at all. Has just a ridiculous number of troops there. There's a lot of shit troops in this game, and yeah. So then we've got our useful outside the arena. So what this means is these are the troops here you do not want to go beyond level 8 at all. And any legendaries you see in here, you can happily fuse those away for better troops, and you won't miss them. I don't think you'll ever miss them. So then we go to our useful outside the arena. These 5 troops, you only upgrade those if you particularly want to focus on, or improve your other game modes outside of the arena, because these 5 troops are hopeless in the arena. So they'll be no use to you whatsoever in the arena, but they will be useful in other game modes. And likewise, the limited use troops, you only want to upgrade these if you particularly, have what the hero or what particular strategy that limited use is used for. That's the only reason you would upgrade these. Good luck upgrading that, because that takes fucking ages. That's more of just a collecting thing. That's all that really is. And obviously these good troops, you can happily upgrade these, and you won't ever not use them, because you will use all these troops throughout the arena at points. And obviously the op troops, these are the troops you're going to want to chase and get kind of en masse. This one here, by en masse I mean 5 or 6, mostly because it's just a single load, but these are the troops you want to chase, the op and the good, and these are the ones you can kind of fuse away, trash away, to get better troops. So I will save this picture and save it in my Discord, so join my Discord if you want to see it. The link is in the description. Alright guys, thanks for watching.